Hey, this is Daniel Posney, and this is called Shifting Perspectives. And I've got a good one for you. And I'm being influenced by several different sources that are all kind of pointing to the same thing and just saying it in a little different way. And it has to do with when we say things like, why should I? And I've come to the conclusion that why should I is self-sabotage. And I'll explain this. But first, I want to tell you where this is coming from. One source is a guy named Aaron Abke. He was a Christian youth pastor for a few years, and his father was a pastor. His father was a pastor, and he broke out of the church to teach more of Christ's teachings instead of what they were teaching. So he's very kind of filtered down into Christ teachings, which I really appreciate. And then there's another source of consciousness called Bashar, and Bashar is supposed to be channeled in through another person, and he's really high. And the way that he talks is right down to the point, right down to your own divinity, no bullshit, right into it. And then the other one, which is really high, is called the A Course in Miracles. So if you ever look into the Course in Miracles, it's so high, it's really really difficult to really get what this consciousness is talking about. But I've been listening to it and I've read some in the past, so I guess I'm getting some of it. But they're focusing on this concept, and I thought I'd talk about it. So let me start with the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have do unto what you would have them do unto you. And usually what that means is, be a good person. And then, we usually, as a little kid, we might say, why should I? They're the one who's being mean to me. And then usually the mom says, well, yeah, but you should be a good person because if you're not a good person, then God is going to punish you or some kind of threat like that. And even just a threat of, well, you're not going to be a good person. It's enough for the moment sometimes that we want to be a good boy or a good girl, but then as we go along, we start to see, well, sometimes if I'm this way, I'm a good person, I get crapped on, or I don't get this reward that God is supposed to give me. So we get kind of disenchanted with the whole um, transaction that we think is going on. So what I want to do is I want to open up this idea of the golden rule, which it means more than be nice to people or so you can be a good person. There's actually some metaphysics and some energy talk behind this. And I'll say this in different ways to kind of make sure I'm getting nailed down on it, is that what you give out, you get back. If you ever find that you don't get something, check yourself to see if you're giving out that thing. And that's what the Course in Miracle and Aaron Atke and Bashar, but what I'm listening to is the Course in Miracles. What they're saying is that the world is a reflection of your thoughts and your beliefs and the consciousness that you embody. And I talk about this all the time. And it really is like if you go, wow, I'm not feeling appreciated, or I'm not feeling acknowledged, I'm not feeling love, I'm not feeling emotional support. Well, check yourself. Do you actually give that out to other people without any conditions, without anything attached to it? So just take a nice deep breath with that one because usually when I start to think about that, I need to take a deep breath and go, oh, wow, maybe there's something to this whole energy thing where I give out and I give back. And maybe there's a part of me that I'm getting a little bit of what I give out in the negative sense. And so what the way that I'm talking about this is it's called it inner work or self-inquiry. And it's just a little bit of a questioning yourself and your actions and your thoughts, just a little bit. And you don't have to go into all day inquiry. It's just, wait a minute, do I do that myself? And you start getting a handle on your own egoic mind and where it's not running you anymore, you're starting to kind of look over and go, oh, if this is true, there's a light at the end of this tunnel. So, what you need to feel from other people is an emotion. You need to feel that I'm loved. You need to feel the feeling of feeling worthy, or you need to feel the feeling of being appreciated. So you're looking for the feeling of an emotion. The only problem and solution is that you are in charge of your emotions and your feelings. Yes, you get activated by outside sources, but you have a choice to keep creating that habit of having that emotion. Now that sounds weird if this is new to you. I don't have control. It just kind of happens. No, once you start looking at it, once you start going inside a little bit, it happens less and less and less. So if you say, well, I'm looking for this feeling from this other person, do I give out this feeling so freely to other people? If you were that kind of a giver person, man, you would feel just the reward of just giving it out because you would automatically give it back to yourself. It's such a cool kind of equation going on there. But if you're mad at the world for not giving this feeling and everything is this reflection of the world and you're the victim of the world, well, how do you look at the world? How do you treat the world? So it's hard for someone that this might be new for you. Some people find this kind of difficult because it takes a lot of like gumption and a lot of determination to push through what your mind has been trying getting you to believe for years. So at first, it's like turning this big wheel, like this huge rusty wheel. At first, it can be difficult, but I guarantee you, after a while, that wheel gets smaller, more greased up. It's easier to turn, and eventually, you got this little fine tuning thing going on. So more about this. When you are triggered, when you don't feel that emotion, who are you really upset with? Now, this takes some really deep inquiry because if you really look at it, and this might take some just meditation or prayer, but instead of your mind telling, well, I'm upset with them, I'm upset with them, I'm upset with them because they're not giving me something. But if you just let that sit for a while, just let that cool out and just relax, who are you really upset with? Could it be that you might be upset with yourself? That you don't do this. And if you knew the equation that if you did do that, you would get it back, of course you'd be upset with yourself. But let's get really specific on this. If you're upset with yourself, it's because you're upset with your egoic mind, not with your whole self. So get really specific on where is it that you might be upset with because your mind has been sabotaging everything. So you may be receiving what you are giving. Think about that one. You may be receiving what you yourself are giving. And you might say, well, yeah, but I give that because that's what I receive. Yeah, but how's that working for you? That's like a never-ending story. And you know where that goes. What if you did something different? What if you were so courageous and so brave that you did something completely illogical and you just went from the heart and you actually just determined to just fall into that and start giving that what you want to receive. Stop giving what you don't want to receive. Stop giving what you don't want to receive. If you have this determination of being an angry, protected person that you've just got to be a hard ass, stop giving that and see what happens. Just, for a amount of time, for a few days, for a week, maybe. Just see what happens with that. You might start seeing a change. And if there's any voice in your head that says, okay, we're going to stop it now, and someone was an asshole, so I'm going to just stop the whole thing, check that. That's the voice that got you into trouble in the first place. Give what you want exactly. And what I mean by that is that give what you want. And if you want to receive something without any conditions, then give that without any conditions. So, just to recap, this idea where you might say, why should I? And you cross your arms and you say, why should I do this? They don't give it to me. Why should I? Well, because that why should I is actually a self-sabotage because they've been looked at in so many different ways. What you give out, you receive. What you put out, you get back. And so that kind of makes sense to just say, well, if I give this out, even though they don't deserve this, but I deserve this. So if I give this out, God, the universe creator, has to give it back to me. That's the law of the universe. It has nothing to do with the person that's in front of you. You're working with the law of the universe. What you give out, you receive. And if you want to take it to the highest level, Course of Miracles level, share and extend to receive. He says, in order to receive something, you have to share it. You have to extend it out. You think yourself as an extension of God or the extension of the universe, the activity of the universe. If that's so, share what you want to see reflected back to you, what you want. It's like this bounce back thing that's going on. You give it out and it gets bounced back to you. Share and extend to receive.